Hi, welcome on Online HR Fest next session. Éva Gábor, professional for communication and marketing, and now I'm working at BMW Group Plant Debrecen as a senior HR marketing expert. And today here with me is Abburi. Hi, and Harry, please introduce yourself in a few sentences to our audience.
Aoife, thank you for having me here. Greetings to you from Los Angeles, California. Budapest is one of my most favorite cities, and I miss coming there this year because of the COVID-19 situation. I first came into HR Fest in 2017 when I was to be in Zurich at the time. I'm a global consultant. I consult with mid-sized to large-sized companies, both multinationals and local companies, on three areas: strategy and leadership, people strategy and HR, organization and change. I'm part of the Forbes HR Council. I'm also a member of what we call as a leadership trust of Business Journals of Los Angeles. And I also teach at Caltech. I teach a strategy program for executive education. So most of my work is around transformations, restructuring, M&As, really complex problems that we're trying to solve for companies in this disruptive world.
Thank you, Harry. And last year you gave a great talk on Agile HR at HR Fest in Budapest. And you've been talking about how we need to blur the line between our customers and the workforce. So is still the case in these times of even more uncertainty?
Absolutely. Let's step back and see what's happening today. So we have companies that are having to work with people at home. So imagine if you're a bank or an insurance company, where would your customer service team sit? They used to come into office in the past. They would open up their screens and they would log in securely, and the technology was integrated to be at office. But now companies have adapted that they can actually do customer service from tens and thousands of people sitting at homes. Some of the companies that I know have a 10,000 member customer service team sitting in multiple countries. So the argument that I make is that if in the past companies had figured out that the way we manage our customers is no different than we manage our employees, we wouldn't have actually had a disruption in COVID-19, because your customers are sitting everywhere, so they can call you from a coffee shop, from a home, any other place. But employees were restricted to a physical square feet of space and how they did their jobs. And that's one simple example I can give you, but I think it's much more today, because also the way jobs were being redefined even before COVID-19 due to automation and technology. Now it happens much faster because there's so many jobs. At least in the US, we lost about 33 million jobs in a span of 45 days. They're beginning to come back, but we're only getting one job out of every 8 jobs lost. So even if we get up to 6 jobs out of 8 jobs lost, there would be 2 jobs to 3 jobs lost to automation or jobs being done differently. So that's why I think looking at how we employ people in the same way that we manage our customers is that much more critical right now.
Yeah, thank you. It's so interesting, and as you mentioned, the global pandemic reworked the workforce plans for many companies on the operational and strategic level too. So, what's your advice to the HR managers who need rethink their workforce amid disruption?
So let's take 2 views on this. Let's first take the people view, and secondly, let's take the strategy view of a company. On the people view, I think the fundamental focus should be that we must do everything in our power to ensure that people's livelihoods are protected. Because if people don't earn money at a very basic level, the economy and the consumption will drop. So I think at a very core principle of humanity and being empathetic towards the people that we have. So the strategy there should be that don't think full-time jobs. Think about job being done by any person who has the capability. Whether the job is 1 hour, 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, doesn't matter. Whether the job is in one location or another, doesn't matter. Find a way to get your jobs done through a bunch of people who can come and work, giving their expertise to you and make you successful. Don't be defined by a traditional job description. And that will ensure that we are able to actually employ more people in whatever shape and form. And that keeps the humanity at the center of what we do as a business. That's number one. The second aspect strategically is that any workforce that we look at today has to be a seamless mix of 5 or 6 elements. First, we have full-time employees who are humans. Second, we have gig employees who are part-time or expertise-based. I'm running a project. I need very specific expertise. I bring somebody in to do the project and go away. I have algorithmic bots like chatbots, conversational AI, etc. I have process automation, which is like robotic process automation, where a legal document can be scanned through a computer vision and it tells me the loopholes in the agreement and what I need to fix, etc. It can be even physical augmentation. In construction industry, we see exoskeletons where the physical body strength is made to multiply itself because you're operating a machine really embedded into the form of a human being. So when all of these comes together, that is the future of work. So if you don't have at least 3 of them, you're not really thinking in the future tense. You're still stuck in the past. So I think the future workforce, you will have to mix up these elements where the interface between humans and technology is so seamless that you actually get far greater value. And I read a very interesting quote which says that humans innovate, technology automates. Right? So when those things come together, you have a future workforce in a sense.
You mentioned the gig employees. So there is a lot of discussion going on about gig talent pool, especially, but at least in Hungary, you still see it very rarely. What key message would you deliver to a hesitant C-level executive about the gig economy?
Well, let's look at today's environment. So typically managers have been very conservative of people working from home. Mm-hmm. So and there are many companies that I know, even big brands, where you had leaders who are not fully trusting that people can work from home and be productive. Yeah. So in COVID-19 you didn't have a choice. So what do? So I may not like it, but I didn't have a choice. Now today the very same managers say that, okay, we can have 30% of a workforce permanently working from home, right? So the reason I give that example is to transpolate it to say that some of the old mindsets have gone away, and therefore it applies to gig talent as well. You have been used to working with a human next to you for hundreds of years, and you're also used to controlling the human being 8 hours a day and paying for 40 hours a week or whatever it is, right? But that is an activity-based job. It's a time-based job. It is not an outcome-based job. Mm-hmm. So if you ask me to do something and I say, Eva, you actually don't need 8 hours for it. I can do it in 2 hours. That's okay. So I think we need to move away from time and activity-based job planning to a very expertise-based, outcome-based work planning. And then it changes the game. And every company that I've seen, I think, has a potential to, if you have 100 people today, I can tell you 30 of the jobs can be done by gig workers.
Have you seen good examples about this? Could you please explain some good examples to us?
Yes. Firstly, I think the easier examples is the consulting companies.
Okay.
Because consulting companies have projects all the time. And their staffing models, if they were to have every bit of expertise sitting with them, it would be very cost ineffective for them to have such a large, highly qualified, highly expertise-driven workforce. In manufacturing, you see that a lot, because there are a lot of temp jobs that come in and go out, seasonality, so there are a lot of seasonality based jobs in sales as well that are gig talent based, right? So when it comes to functions, it gets a little more difficult because functions are slightly conservative. Let's take HR, let's take finance, let's take supply chain. What if I were to tell you that you actually don't need a full-time person to do talent management? Just as a question. Now, everybody says, no, it's not possible, etc. But I can tell you that there are several aspects of talent management where you don't need full-time employees in HR and who actually bring in better expertise, because once you're in a company, I call it the depreciating return of knowledge. You only know so much. So companies like consulting, etc., are ahead of the curve. Manufacturing is somewhere in the middle, but functions are way behind. I think there's a great opportunity in the functions to do it. I mentioned consulting. EY is a good company. They have an Excel portal only dedicated for gig talent. And the other company is called UniCredit, which is an Italian bank. In fact, I met them in Budapest when I was there a couple of years ago. They have an initiative called Marketplace. So they apply the gig talent thinking to internal employees, where employees can apply for projects internally and do a project and move on. So you have everybody experimenting with it, but I haven't seen a company take it as a core part of talent strategy. And I think that's where the biggest benefit would come from.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you. And with all these changes, we will need to rethink our people practices, won't we? So what will happen to performance management and learning, for example?
Great questions. Performance management is a little more complex, but so vital to a company. So I mentioned how we need to redefine jobs from activity time-based to outcome-based and expertise-based, right? But let's look at performance management. You cannot look at performance management at an individual level without fundamentally changing the way an organization measures itself.
Yeah.
And an organization measures itself based on how stakeholders want it to be measured too. So if you're a public company, and if your investors are looking at something as an expectation, and the pressure of quarterly numbers, etc., gets to you. So you cannot re-engineer performance management on the human side without re-engineering it on the business side first. So first of all, businesses need to sit back and say, here are the 5 things that we will deliver, and then how will they deliver that, and stay focused on that very much, right? And on the individual side, I think the value of a job changes. So there are 2 schools of thought. Let's just say that I was doing a job manually so far, but now I have algorithms, robotic process automation, chatbots helping me in my job. So will the value of my job go down, or will the value of my job go up? Because is my job becoming easier? Yes, it is becoming easier. Do I need a higher skill? May not be. So the example I give is, as cars got more sophisticated, right? It did not mean that you got higher skill. Driving became easier. So should you be paid less, or should you be paid more for the job getting easier? So I think that is a discussion we need to have. So there is a fundamental nature of value of the job that is getting redefined, and the worth of the job is getting redefined. The output is getting redefined, and therefore we need to find a way to measure that value on performance management. On learning, I don't know if you watched a movie called Matrix. There are a couple of series of them with Keanu Reeves, right? So he goes, sits in a chair, they hook him up, he gets a new skill, and he goes into the battlefield and fights it. And then he's in a different situation. He says, please upload a new skill to me, and they upload this new skill, and he's fighting a different situation. So we have to look at a workforce pretty much like the Keanu Reeves situation in Matrix, because every company is changing fast enough. So if you look at Netflix, for example, every 3 years their model changes. And if I was an employee of Netflix in 1998, when they started the DVD rental, I would be completely outdated today. I would have no skills to work in that company. In fact, I would be outdated every 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you make people learn? And how do you keep a workforce upskilled? You will have to think at the speed of the customer in terms of how the matrix example I gave you. So what is it that we can do to give people bite-sized skills that I can rapidly upskill myself and go back and be effective? Instead of trying to say, okay, I need to teach you over 1 year. Experience is important. There's no doubt about it. But I think exposure is more important. So the more I see and more I learn, the more effective I'll be, and how we deliver that changes. So for example, I have Alexa at my home, and my kids ask Alexa all kinds of questions and it answers you. So who was George Washington? It'll tell you straight away, and it'll answer your math problem. It'll give you all kinds of history questions, etc. It also, and in companies, you can use voice-based technology to deliver analytics and answer questions. So for example, you're with BMW, and I say, hey, what is the component number 6005? It'll tell you component number 6005 is the screw to the bumper on the left side of the car, and these are the 5 things you need. So why would you need a classroom to really teach that? And my best coach could be the technology.
Yeah.
So ability to upgrade the skills of the workforce in short bursts when I need it, and allowing people to actually use it the way they want to, will redefine learning.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for sharing your thoughts. And I hope that most companies somehow will find a way to rethink really what they need to.
Absolutely. Thank you, Aoife. I always talk about agility because I think that is the most key performance indicator of a company in the disruptive world. And I define agility as being at the speed of the customer. Yeah. So there is only one customer to me, which is the real customer to your business. Yeah. So we get confused between internal, external, all the language we use. So if the human resources function stays focused on that customer and tries to do people practices similar to that, what we do for the customer, we will make a winning organization. So, and I'm happy to share those thoughts with you. Thank you for having me on this talk.
Thank you for participating on HR Fest Online, and hopefully we see you the HR Fest live again.
Absolutely. Can't wait to come back to Budapest. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.